This is the Talkin Bout the Hoosiers podcast, presented by HoosierIllustrated.com. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Talkin Bout the Hoosiers podcast, presented by HoosierIllustrated.com. I'm joined by Alec Lastly, Kyler Staley, I'm Drew Rosenberg, and we have a special guest joining us shortly. It's former Michigan basketball player, college basketball, NBA basketball, just covers it all, really. Ant Wright joined the show in just a bit. But I guess the first thing for us to talk about, last time we talked, Purdue, they had Cannon Catchings on the roster, and I guess no more Cannon Catchings as he was released from his letter of intent earlier today. Alec, I guess what was your kind of initial takeaways or thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think that's obviously a lot happened today. Right, we're recording this on June 6th. Right, between that and the Dan Hurley news, I feel like not this much college basketball kind of breaking news has happened this late into the offseason. But yeah, I mean, Kyler knows this too, right? With Cannon Catchings, it seemed like this was a foregone conclusion that he was not going to end up playing for Purdue. It seemed like ever since last summer. Almost every month there was something that came up where they put a lot of doubt into that potential, but for some reason he stuck with them, they stuck with him. I'm surprised to see it happen now. I figured it would have, if it were to happen, probably maybe 2 months ago, right when kind of the college basketball season really got wrapped up. But he's going to be obviously a highly sought after recruit here now with obviously the transfer portal window closed. A lot of rosters, though, are obviously pretty much finalized for next year. A lot of guys obviously already on campus and off-season workouts beginning, but a lot of programs have left open at least one or two scholarships, a lot of big-time programs, right? So we'll see what happens. We'll see where he goes. Just briefly, it looks like a lot of initial talk. Who knows how significant it is, but a lot of just initial stuff is about potentially Illinois. We'll see, where he ends up, but yeah, I'm not shocked by the news. I'm just kind of, I think, more so shocked by the timing of it, and the fact that it took this long to actually come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to add on, kind of, Alec mentioned it. There always was talk. Ever since he went over to Overtime Elite, there was always talk month to month. Alex said it. It was, is Cannon Catchings going to go to Purdue? Is he actually going to go to Purdue? Even though he is an in-state kid, Brownsburg, Indiana, there was always that talk. And he kind of got the sense that maybe he thought he was, bigger than Purdue in a way. A lot of times with that, he's a top 40 guy and everything. So, one of the biggest, highest rated recruits that Purdue has ever landed originally. So you got to kind of wonder. I don't know. I kind of disagree with you, Alec, with the timing with it. I feel like Purdue's kind of in a situation right now where they're reassessing their roster spots, because right now I think they were oversigned by one maybe or not. And, maybe you just had those conversations. We don't know what happened in the back end with that, but maybe you had those conversations like, is this going to be a right fit? Are we going to be able to do that? Maybe they posed a situation where, hey, Cannon, maybe you redshirt a year, maybe he didn't want to do that. I don't know. There's a lot of things where you kind of got to, talk about that or whatnot, but it will be interesting to see. There's going to be some rumors out there. You can't really avoid it. Indiana's got that open scholarship. Are they going to pursue Cannon Catchings? They did pursue him for a little bit, but I personally don't think that's going to happen. It'll just be interesting to see where he's going to be. But any big-time program that's got open scholarships, they're definitely going to go after him.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, they were oversigned by one. So the expectation was someone, right, was going to have to, obviously, before the season got going, either enter the transfer portal or ask out of that letter of intent. I just think, again, not to say that I'm surprised by the result. I'm just surprised by the timing, because again, now he kind of pigeonholes himself into a weird spot of where he now doesn't necessarily get to more so pick where he wants to go. Right, it's more or less what's open for him. So I think in that aspect, it's just him kind of getting caught up. I think a little bit too much in the game of it all, and potentially missing out on a huge window, right? But I mean, look at what Purdue has. Obviously, extremely talented on the wing. He was a guy who was never going to come in and sit on the bench, and I think who knows if he thought he was a little bit too big for Purdue, right? But he's not that prototypical Purdue player. He's not the prototypical Purdue wing, Purdue guard. anything that you want to talk about with Purdue. He just never really seemed to fit in with what Matt Painter has really built there and in the way that he builds his roster. Obviously, they have Miles Colvin, who came on strong towards kind of the better half of the second part of last year. Obviously inconsistent because you're a freshman, you're playing behind, albeit two sophomore guards, two really experienced sophomore guards, and then obviously Lance Jones. So he's obviously going to take a huge step up next year, and they have a lot of other production on the wing that's going to be back as well. So the fit probably at this point didn't really match what he was looking for. But at the same time, again, I just am shocked that he didn't either see that previously or those conversations weren't had previously to allow him or allow Purdue to kind of go in a different way. And that's why with everyone getting on campus here this week and next week, it's shocking to me the timing more so than anything.
Yeah, at the same time, though, you see, the timing's definitely late, but now he gets to see what rosters could he fit on and kind of insert himself on immediately. I mean, you talked about it. He's the guy that's probably going to play right away at a big program. So being able to do that and find that roster where you really can jump in and play right away, where Purdue, he might not have had that opportunity just with how loaded they were or are at the wing spot. So for Catchings, now he gets the opportunity to find a program where he can be maybe not the guy, but get big minutes right off the bat as a freshman.
Yeah, Kyle, what do you see him being? Obviously, again, some of this depends where he goes, right, at this point. But did you see him being potentially, a one and done kind of guy? Or I guess you've obviously seen him the most out of all three of us from freshman year on. But what are kind of your thoughts in terms of where he fits at the college level and kind of what he could be looking for next?
Do I think he's one and done? Absolutely not. I honestly don't. Just based on his body type. Now, granted, I haven't seen him in a year. He's been out of the state. I don't watch a whole lot of overtime elite games. Just putting that out there. But I never really thought that his body was ready for the college game. I really not. Very, very skinny guy, very, very lanky. A guy that really, really needed to put on muscle and mass, to be able to compete, especially in the Big Ten. But it just depends on the situation. I think if he were to go to Purdue, there was no way he was going to be a one and done guy. Now he could go to somewhere, maybe in Illinois, someone like that, some other school that has a spot for him where he can play right away and be maybe a starter in that way where he can get his numbers up, where he can kind of prove what he can kind of do and everything. But right now, not one and done guy with that. He's obviously really, really talented, very athletic player, a guy that can shoot the ball extremely well and got better and better throughout his high school career. So it was a shame when he did leave the state, because when he did leave, the 24 class, there was always a lot of knock on them, especially in the state, of how weak it was. But when he left, you took out another Mr. Indiana basketball candidate there with that. So it would have been nice to see him this year, finish out his high school career. Obviously, a lot of people know he is the nephew of Tamika Catchings, one of the best women's basketball players of all time. So obviously you got that with him. But do I think he's one and done? I don't.
Ant, perfect time jumping in. I mean, I saw today on Twitter you talking about Cannon Catchings and how you kind of saw someone leaving Purdue being a wing. Did you kind of see it being him?
What?
Catch you right off guard. Sorry about that. But so with Cannon Catchings, I guess being released, we're talking his release from his letter of intent. And you mentioned on Twitter you thought someone was probably going to leave the program. Did you see it being him?
I didn't see it being him. I know that there are definitely rumors over the last year of him like not being 100 all the way in. But when you looked at that roster, it just didn't add up for me. Just didn't add up, and I figured it was going to be a wing. I didn't think it was going to be Catchings. I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I thought it was going to be Fletch. I thought that would have been one of the surprises of the offseason, and it's not that crazy to think about, especially when you look around the country and see just the wildest guys leaving. Like we just saw Coleman leave Illinois. he's going to be playing elsewhere. So, nothing should be a surprise nowadays. So I thought that was going to be one of the shocks, one of those surprises. But no, man. I mean, I thought it was going to be a wing. I thought it was going to be Fletch, but I was a little bit off, and it was a different, like a front court wing, because he can kind of pass as a 4, maybe a 3. But yeah, tough, man.
So I guess, Ant, welcome in. Kind of put you under fire right away, but I guess
no, man, it's all good. It's all good.
So I guess, Indiana, major offseason, a lot of money spent, a lot of big acquisitions. I guess, what was your overall takeaways from Mike Woodson's offseason?
Incredible job, man. Incredible job. And I know people are gonna say, offseason champs, or it's just the offseason. I'm like, the best teams are winning throughout the year. So why shouldn't you try to win in the offseason? It doesn't make any sense, So incredible job. The only I gave him, I gave him an A-. I think I gave him an A-. Just an incredible job, man. The fact that he went out and got a couple guards who can create, score at 3 levels. I think you're going to see improved shooting from Miles, and going out and getting Ballo pretty much right away was big time from him and your collective. That thing is a monster. Has proven to be proven and crazy. And it's like, hey, if you want a guy, we can go get him. That's not a problem. And even getting guys like Goody, some good rotation guys. And I love how they're at least 2 deep at every position now. So practices are going to be very competitive. It's not going to be like last year, because last year you didn't have many guards that could score in multiple levels, and you didn't have guards who can shoot threes consistently, or play off the bounce and be super aggressive. And the fact that you're going to have multiple guards now in practice like that, it's going to be really good from an offensive standpoint, but defensively, being able to see that, because last year they couldn't practice against it because they didn't really have anyone who could score like that off the bounce. So being able to see that now every single day starting this summer, I think it's going to just make Indiana that much better overall. But he did an outstanding job, man. I got the only people are like, why isn't that an A-? Why isn't that an A+? Like, well, because there's nobody on this team that he didn't get anyone from the portal who I believe is going to be a draft pick next year. And that's it. That's literally it. And if someone forms into that, cool. But as of June 6, 2024, there's none from the portal. So, but still, outstanding job.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on a few aspects there that we heard from Mike Woodson last week, and his kind of lone offseason media availability, talking about adjusting from last year to this year and getting a lot more depth, not only 2 deep, but obviously 3 deep in some spots, but specifically in the backcourt, specifically on the wing, right? Because just for those specific reasons, you lose Xavier Johnson, and now you throw in Gabe Cupps, who has to play 25, 30 minutes a game, who's clearly not ready to play that as a freshman, and you have no other depth. The last year they go into the offseason and they go into the regular season with 1 open scholarship. I think a lot of people were complaining about that at the time, right? You now do the same thing this year with 1 open scholarship. Obviously, a vastly different roster, a very much more improved roster, talented roster, but talented depth is the biggest difference between last year and this year, and in my opinion, obviously what you just talked about. But if you kind of look at their roster as a whole, their additions from whether it's a portal, whether it's Bryson Tucker that we'll talk on a little bit later here, who do you see as kind of the most impactful guy coming in, whether it's right away, whether it takes him a little bit to get there, but out of those additions, who do you think is going to be the most impactful in whatever way that is?
Miles. I think it's going to be Miles right away. I just think he, to go through what he went through and then to have that type of year, I mean, year 2 should be, I mean, it's, he should go up a level for sure. He should go up a level, should be more consistent with his health getting stronger. He should be able to sustain better. But I think, you have someone to go get the ball to, right? And they didn't have that last year. They played through the post almost every single time. And you can't, it's so hard to do that. It's so hard to demand something from the post. But when you're the guard and you're just like, can this guy in front of me guard me? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then you're going to get a good shot a lot. And he changes it immediately. And then they go out and get, Carlisle right after that, who's also in year 1. He's going to be a year 2 guy coming up. And, you have 2 guys who are coming off of playing a lot of minutes for a high major team. And you saw flashes of how good they could be. I think you'll see more of those flashes more consistently. But getting those guards, I think, is by far the biggest thing, by far, and it's not close in my opinion.
And with Mike Woodson, he got a lot of flack last year, obviously for a multitude of reasons. Whether it be roster construction, coaching, whatever it was. What do you think this year Mike Woodson has to do differently in order to, obviously wins the easy answer there, but what do you think he needs to do to get back into, the good graces of a lot of the fans that are still kind of questioning, his coaching style?
Well, you can't get swept by Purdue. You got to split at minimum. You got to split there consistently, because I think early you're not going to see them in that top 25. You may see them in the 20s, but you're probably going to see them in that received votes part. You got to beat the heck out of these bye teams first of all, and you need some big wins in the non-conference. I think if you're going into Big Ten play with 1 non-conference loss, maybe 2 to legit teams, I think fans are like, okay, all right, I see it. And then they can compete for a Big Ten championship. I really think they can. The league's still going to be pretty good next year, man. Going to be pretty good next year. Ohio State looks decent. Maryland brought on some real good guys. Rutgers has, a couple guys who probably go lottery next year. Michigan's looking very, very good. I think EvanMia.com had them as the top Big Ten team in terms of transfers incoming. And they may get Jameer Watkins, who's really legit too. Wisconsin, it's going to be interesting because it seems like they may have cut some fat with Chucky and AJ, but they still retain really good players. Michigan State runs it back kind of, but they got Fears back now after that crazy thing that happened with him last year. They're going to move Akins probably to the 2, and then they got Fiddler. I mean, it's gonna be a pretty good conference again, man. And but I think that just means that the winner of the conference, I think, is going to get around 5 or 6 losses, and I think I could definitely see Indiana going 15-5 or 14-6 without a doubt.
And it, obviously to do that, right, they need to change up a few things from last year and even the year before, because this team is entirely different than anything that Mike Woodson's had up to this point, and is going on his 4th year, right? He talked about it last week about whether fans want to hear it or not. He kind of wants to play like he did with the New York Knicks, much more up tempo, much more guard oriented team. Obviously, you now get that with 2 dynamic playmakers. You move Trey Galloway, in my opinion, most likely to the bench. Move him back into that experienced role player role that he really excelled in before Xavier Johnson went down 2 years ago. And so you have shooting now with Luke Goody, right? Mackenzie Mbako's back, but the biggest question that I think I still have with this roster and the way that it's constructed is the front court. Obviously, no shooting with Malik and Omar Ballo. What does that look like in your opinion? How does Mike Woodson utilize the versatility that he has on the wing, specifically with Luke Goody and Mackenzie Mbako and their shooting ability to get them on the floor at the same time and play Mackenzie more at that 4? Is that the lineup that you see most impactful for Indiana, or is it trying to get at least one or two shooters more involved in the backcourt and still play those two bigs in the front court?
I mean, we'd love to see more Mackenzie at the 4. I said it last summer. I said it all year.
Yep.
I'm saying it again now. It's like now people have seen it. They're like, okay, yeah, he's a 4. So he should be a 4. I think Renew can be a decent shooter, a spot up one, especially in year 3 now, because in that first year, I just remember him getting that shot on the wing, and then it looked so smooth, and it just went in. And then this past year, he did have more of a green light from 3. I do want him to work on that a lot more, because I think when Ballo comes out, I think he can work at the 5. Honestly, just put Renewing at the 5. Just let him be a menace. And then so Mbako can play more at the 4. Goody can have reps at the 4 as well. If Mbako has foul trouble, Goody just fills that Miller Kopp type role. Just come in, make shots, high IQ, just work extremely hard on both ends. I just think that there's depth is good. Depth is good, but it can also be a detriment if you don't know how to handle your guys. You're not going to be able to play 11, 12 guys in these games. And what's funny is that, you could say that most of these guys would have started last year on this team. How are you going to deal with that as a coach? Is everyone still going to be locked in? If someone who's really important to the team isn't really in this rotation, are they gone because of that? Is it deuces? I don't know what they're going to do, because it's almost like, I'm not going to say they have too many weapons, because that's ridiculous. But they're going to have to really, really get to that 8.5 man rotation. And some guys are going to be ass out, unfortunately.
So I guess kind of building off that, when you look at the backcourt rotation, obviously add Miles Rice, add Cannon Carlisle, 2 guys who are going to get big minutes, kind of guaranteed. But then you had Trey Galloway, who at the end of the year really started to kind of put it together as the primary ball handler. So I guess what do you kind of see the backcourt shaping out to be? I guess maybe not early in the year, but by the end of the year, where do you kind of see with the backcourt rotation, with the Ja'Kai Newton also coming back, Gabe Cupps getting his big minutes, and then Anthony Leal providing a big spark towards the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, Gabe coming in to be a backup 1 is going to be huge. That's what he should have been last year until X started punching people in the nether. But it's there's going to be competition there, and I think that's what this team needs. They don't need to throw freshmen in the fire once again, right? Because that's what happened with Hochefino, right? Threw him in the fire and said, "Hey, come on, we need you. Just do your best." And he had to go through some growing pains, and he ended up doing well enough to leave after 1 year, right? Gabe last year, Gabe is not JHS, right? Hochefino, 6'5", 6'6", guard, combo guard, NBA type talent. Gabe is a 4 or 5 year guy. Shoving him in there was needed. It was needed. That's going to help him out this year, going through all that. And for once, he's going to go up against an all a high major all conference performer every day in practice. So he's going to get a lot better. So if you have Miles and then you got Gabe, and I'm pretty sure Caden could take over if need be as number 3. I'm interested in seeing Jakai, and I kind of want to see if he's going to be able to really compete and force himself on the court. Because if you're killing in practice and you get your opportunity in the games, the coach isn't going to be like, well, I can't play you because we just got these guys. No, if you come and you're ready to go and he forces himself into the rotation, forces himself into the lineup, someone's got to sit, right? And it goes back to you can't play 11, 12 guys. But they're going to have to find out who fits. They're going to find out their rotation, and they're going to have to do that in the first 10 games or so. And then after that, just keep it going. But they have a lot of issues everywhere in terms of who's going to play because there's so many options. That's a great problem to have. Outside of last year where you had no options, right? Like you just don't want to get in that situation again.
Moving to the front court, one transfer we haven't really talked about is Langdon Hatton. What do you see his value being to this team next year?
I mean, if it's a situation where Ballo's out and there's an injury somewhere, or Renew has 2 fouls coming off the bus, right? That could be a situation where he does play that role. Probably early on, you're going to see more of him backing up Ballo, probably, and not have to go with Malik as the backup. But if it's a close game in a non-conference big-time matchup, and there's a 2-3 point game in the last 3 minutes, and Ballo was out or Ballo's not hitting his free throws, I won't be shocked at Renew going right to the 5 and finishing up with a small ball lineup. But Haddon's a decent player. I think he was needed. I think he gives a different type of flavor. He is more finesse, can shoot it a little bit, which is nice. And I just like how he's so much different than all the other players on the roster. Nobody is his height, one, that can also shoot the ball a little bit. So I do like that piece.
And with you kind of talked about, Miles Rice being the biggest, impact transfer, just with the whole team, in general, who do you think next year is the biggest X factor for this team to have success all season long?
I'm going to go with Mackenzie or Trey. I think Mackenzie taking another step is going to be big. He got better throughout the year, unquestionably on both ends, got way better. When he started rebounding the ball, I think his whole mentality and the way that he viewed the game changed. That and Trey, you need Trey for everything when it comes to the intangibles, the leadership, making sure everybody's on the same page. I think is going to be huge just from a leadership standpoint. And he's got to be someone who buys into his role too, right? He's someone who was playing a lot the last couple of years. I don't know if it looks the same coming into this year. It's probably going to drop off a bit due to really good guys at his position now, whether it's Carlisle or at the 3 with multiple options now, multiple bigger options, right? But he can still come in as that third guard and help the team win. He could do that too. Won't be shocked at a Rice, Carlisle, Galloway, Goody, Ballo line. I will not be shocked if they go with the more guard-oriented with a rim protector. And what's nice is that they're going to be able to play so many ways. But I'll go with Galloway and Mbako. Mbako's improvement is going to be huge, especially him personally, individually, because I know he wants to get to the league. And then just Galloway just finishing off his Indiana tenure the right way.
Yeah, I kind of want to stick on McKenzie there a little bit. I've talked to a couple NBA scouts this offseason. Obviously, he decided not to test the waters and just immediately announced that he was coming back, which I think at the end of the day, he was always going to come back after the finish that he had last year. But I think I was a little bit surprised that he at least didn't test the waters there with the full intention of coming back. But the biggest thing that some of those scouts have said, obviously, needs to have that consistent jumper from start to finish, right? I think that's easily something that you can see. The bigger thing is just being a little bit more fluid as an athlete, right? Out there on the perimeter, because he is more of that tweener 3-4, at least at the college level. At the NBA, he's probably going to be more of that true kind of prototypical NBA wing at this point where the NBA is going. But obviously needs to be a little bit better with the ball in his hands, and not something that he's probably going to get this year with a lot of the dominant ball handlers that IU has. But in terms of kind of how he finished, you see this a lot with guys who come back after the freshman year that he had, right? The way that he finished, that can either be a springboard to having a super successful second season, or that sophomore year slump. And I think that's the biggest question that I have is just how impactful he's going to be on both ends of the floor, and hopefully not settling for coming back this year and realizing what he did the second half of last year is just going to automatically translate, because now he's in my opinion he's probably going to be option 1B on opponents' scouting reports because of that ability to shoot the ball and what he showed last year with that versatility, especially if he does play the 4. So, I mean, coming into this year needs to really impact the game on a lot of different levels. Where do you think, his biggest jump needs to be in order to, take Indiana to that next level? Because I think Trey is obviously a key component to what this team is going to end up being at the end of the season. But missing a lot of this summer, right? I think he's going to be a little bit rusty coming back from the knee injury to start. A little bit of that chemistry, cohesiveness with some of the backcourt members is probably going to take a while to adjust to. I think McKenzie holds the keys to what the ceiling for this team can be, and honestly, what the floor can be for this team. So where do you think he really needs to take that big jump in order to obviously have the impact that I think a lot of people are not only hoping he has next year, but just expecting that he has next year?
Yeah, probably getting his handle right and rim pressure. He's very stiff. He's not someone who's gonna shake the defender out of their boots. But if he can get a little bit of shake, and really work on getting the defender on his hip, like he's a big dude, right? He's 6'7", 6'8". What is he, like 215?
Roughly, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, he's a big dude. So a lot of teams switch as well. So after a while, you're going to get someone on you, and then he's just like, oh, this is food, right? You got to be able to attack consistently, and like get to the hole, get to the cup, get fouled, because he's a great free throw shooter, right? Put pressure, and that's going to set him up with his jump shot later. But if he has good balance there, he should be all right.
Do you think he needs to be more of a drive first, set up his jumper second, or let his jump shot kind of allow the rest of his offensive game to kind of open things up? Obviously, a lot of that's going to depend on who's on the floor with him and kind of what that spacing looks like. But where do you think he needs to start with his offensive game? Because clearly, last year it was shot first, shot second, shot third, and then kind of stumble his way through into the paint and get some contact.
He does need to give spacing to this team. I think that should be the most important, because of the guards that they have. If you had spacing last year, it wouldn't really matter as much because nobody can get by anyone. But now you got guys who can beat their level 1 defender and get to that next level, which really manipulates defense, because then they got to help the guy who just got beat. Then they got to help the guy who just helped the guy who got beat, and that's when chaos starts. So consistent with the jump shot. And what's nice about being able to rim pressure is that when you're getting fouled, you're shooting free throws, you're seeing the ball go in, you're getting in rhythm, and the game is just flowing along with you. So I like to see good balance, but got to be able to hit shots, of course, but being able to beat guys off the bounce.
So you talked, a bit about that kind of shake he needs to add. And when I look at him, when I watch Mackenzie Mbako, it's like, for me, it's the footwork. It's improving the footwork. I mean, you look at guys like this is at the next level, guy Woodson coach, Carmelo Anthony, and then like a Paul Pierce. Guys weren't quick. They weren't beating someone off the dribble, at least in their older years when they're mid-20s, late 20s. They were using footwork and their size to create shots. And that's kind of something I'd want to see more from Mackenzie Mbako moving forward, just like that ability to get to his spots, because he doesn't have to blow by someone off the dribble, because that's just really not in his game. But getting that footwork to where he can create, I think could help him take that next step a bit.
Or change speeds. One way that slower players can beat people by changing speeds. That's why I'm not sure if you guys are baseball fans, but like Chuck Knobloch, right? Big time knuckleball thrower. Like the fact that the knuckleball worked and why he could throw a fastball at 70 is because of the change of speeds, right? You're not seeing someone going 90, but being able to don't even have to go fast, but be able to understand where the defender's feet are and attacking accordingly at your own pace. Because he's so big, like, use your body. So he should be watching like Luka like all summer. He should be watching like you just said, Paul Pierce, these guys who aren't overly quick, but do an incredible job using their body and getting to where they want to go. He fits in that same mold.
And kind of going off, a little off the rails here, but we talk about the Big Ten in general. Next year, is there a team that you think is going to surprise people that, a lot of people aren't really giving a whole lot of love to right now? I ask the tough questions. What can I say?
Yeah, that's very tough. I should reverse it. Like, who do you think is not going to be that good? I can tell you that you're wrong or something. I don't know.
I like Nebraska. I like Nebraska.
Nebraska's going to be all right. Yeah, I think Alex said this. Okay, yeah. Nebraska's going to be all right. Michigan's going to be all right. Maryland's going to be all right.
You think?
Is Stephen Willard on the hot seat?
Maryland? Yeah, I think Maryland's going to be all right. Yeah, they got
Queen and Julian Reese. Are they going to be able to?
We'll see.
Right. I mean, they don't have Jameer Young who can bail them out of anything and go for 35 on any given night and score.
They do have Jacoby
80% of their points.
Gillespie can, I think. He can hoop. That little dude can hoop. And I don't, you could doubt Kevin Willard about a lot of things. One thing you can't doubt is about the lead guard.
Mm-hmm.
His lead guard do crazy numbers. So Jacoby's a good player. I like the kid that they got from Virginia Tech who didn't play last year. He's from DeMatha.
Rodney Rice.
Yeah, I think Deshaun Harris-Smith, I think he had an okay, I'm going to say this. I think he had a letdown year last year, even though he was still on the all-freshman team. I don't think he feels that he had a good year. I think that's someone who you could see really who really comes out as a real good player. But yeah, the big question mark is going to be Queen Reese easily, man. How's that going to work as a tandem? Someone's going to have to step out a little bit. What's nice about Queen is that he is a real good passer. He has real good footwork. Reese is a little bit more athletic, but more raw. And I see Queen as being more. Queen is more skilled than athletic. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. But there's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting year, man. UCLA should be all right too. It's kind of weird mentioning them.
Yep.
Iowa got Sanford back. I think he was a legit second round draft pick, but they got him back. They're gonna have Josh Dix, they're gonna have Brock Hardy, Owen Freeman, and they should be all right next year too. So yeah, and I think Wisconsin should be good next year. I really think they'll be good next year. With Freitag and Cameron Hunter. Freitag is 2024 guard, and then Cameron Hunter is from Central Arkansas. I think they'll be better than a lot of people think too. I don't know. I don't know. I just got a feeling that like AJ and all those guys were kind of fun, but I think they like cut some fat, off of that. So I think it was best for everybody. It's kind of weird that Chucky's going to be playing for Louisville. That's really weird. So strange. And isn't Decision at Nebraska now?
Yeah.
That fits perfectly. You can't say it doesn't.
Does it though?
It does.
Oh, it's weird.
He looks like he should be wearing a Nebraska jersey. Even though he's from Indiana, he looks like he's wearing a Nebraska jersey.
I mean, it's the same colors. So
that is true.
It's like half the league.
It's all red. That wheel that they do, for the Big Ten tournament logo.
Yeah, it's like half red.
It's just all red and white, half of it.
Oh, RIP. We have to pour one out because they got to throw that out and do a new one.
Yeah.
They do.
Same with the commercial. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they just add to it. I hope they keep it.
Yeah.
Just add to it. Like don't.
Yeah, I don't know if they're that smart to just.
A lot of pressure on the guy that had to make that commercial and has to update it. A lot of pressure. I
gotta tweet it. And I'm like, look, you don't need to change much. Look, just do the same thing. Start in LA, feature UCLA and USC, go up the coast to Oregon and Washington, then go to Nebraska and run the same thing. All right, be good with the edits. Just run the same concept. You don't need to change it. Keep the song. Come on.
That's risky, and if you're going to start in the West Coast and Big Ten country on that commercial, I think a lot of people are going to be offended by that.
They started West Coast in the other one.
That's true,
but Rose Bowl.
I will say I'm now disappointed though that the 1 year that Oregon decides to get rid of their trash home court is when they join the Big Ten. I was really looking forward to watching some Big Ten basketball. They're adding. Yeah, they're getting rid of everything. There are no more trees.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yep.
Good for sport.
I'll have to wear my shades while watching them play.
IU at Oregon at 10 p.m. watching that crash court. Can't wait for it.
Real quick, just wrapping up with IU. The one guy who seems to kind of be the forgotten name with this incoming class is obviously Bryson Tucker. McDonald's All-American, so it's kind of difficult to say that he's getting overlooked, right, with how talented he is. But a guy who is probably not great in one category, but definitely very good in a lot of different areas. Where do you see him fitting in? Where kind of in terms of overall skill set? What do you think he's going to bring? Just obviously the wing and the guard position, as we've talked about, very crowded. Where does he fit in with all this?
So Bryson went to the school that I went to as a freshman.
Nice.
To the same school. I think I'm pretty sure. Hey, Mom, is Joe Wooten still at O'Connell?
Yeah, he is.
He is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So.
Okay. Oh, should we skip this one?
No, it's fine.
Oh boy.
No, man.
Here we go.
So when I put out, the top impact freshmen, little like quote tweet saying like, hey, I think that these guys, should be, in the running for, I think, freshman player of the year, right? And I didn't include him. And of course, Hoosier fans were mad at me. What do you mean the McDonald's? The McDonald's, he's a burger. I'm like, look, it's not about him. It's about how deep the roster is, even at his position. And I think since then you got Goody.
Yeah.
I think he's a good player. I just don't think you're going to see the best of him next year. And I think that's 100% because of the roster. It's not because of him. Because he's someone who does very well with the ball, decent mid-range game. I think his three-pointer looks funny. It goes in a little bit sometimes, but it does look a bit funky. But
it's a lot better off the dribble. He's a guy who likes the ball in his hands. That's my one kind of reservation of how he fits in. Is just you have so many guys in that position that they kind of need the ball in their hands that I just don't know how that specifically, with the rest of this roster, is going to totally translate, right? I mean, I think he's a guy that
he was much better off reclassing and coming last year.
Well, I mean, he was going to go G League Ignite before they shut down. So that's,
if he I'm not being facetious. If he reclassed and came in during the 2023 year, I think he may have snuck into like end of first round for this draft. Because I think they would have put him in like a Hood Shafino type role because there weren't a lot of guys who could handle the rock. And I think that would have been perfect for that dude. But I just think that there's just too many pieces that are just in the way. But he's got to be ready because, like, who knows? Because things happen. Whether it's injuries, whether it's academics, things can happen where like people don't play or don't play in home or away games. Like, things can happen and it can come out of nowhere. Like, who knows? Someone can get disgruntled, leave the team. Anything could happen, man. So he just got to be ready, stay ready. Yeah.
Off the top of your head here, without too much thought, and we won't hold you to this, or maybe we will. We'll see depending on how it goes. But
okay,
who gets cut out of the rotation? Because right, you talked about it, right?
Ooh,
nine guys, maybe max, right? A lot of guys in similar spots. Real quick, who doesn't make that?
I have my notepad out. I have my notepad because look, you can't do this and forget someone, right?
Yep.
So I gotta write it down. People are gonna be like, does he know that Michael Rice is on the Hoosiers roster? I don't want to forget anybody.
I love how every Indiana fan sounds the exact same in this.
No. Like whenever I read something stupid, that's the voice that I'm hearing. What did you mean?
It's very Cartman-esque, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking that
too. And of course, like I watched every South Park episode ever. Because like as I'm like doing my like work and stuff, like South Park will be playing just on a loop, like on like a different screen. Okay, so Rice at the 1. Let's go with Carlisle at the 2. Let's go Baco at the 3. Let's go Renew at the 4, Ballo at the 5. I think nobody would argue there. Someone might go with Trey at the 2. Whatever. I don't really care. I don't think you can leave Trey out the rotation. So Trey is going to be one of them. I think Goody's going to be one of them. I think Gabe is going to be one of them. And I think, let's see, Trey, Goody, Gabe, all the white guys.
This is your father's Indiana team right here.
Right. This is like the real Indiana team. First team's Indiana. The second group is Hoosier, right? Marco, Renew, Ballo. All right. Who do I not have so far? I got Newton.
Tucker, Ja'Kai, Anthony, Langdon.
Yeah.
My boy Leo.
Yeah, you got
Yep. That's what I was getting at, because you're obviously now very guard and wing heavy, and
I'm a big Leo guy, but man, I don't see it from my boy. He's gonna play 1 minute a game, and it's gonna only be in the last minute of close games to just play defense
to get that buzzer beater.
Hey, all right. So 5, 6, 7, 8. That's only 12. Who am I missing?
that's it. There's only 12 scholarship guys right now.
That helps.
We can add a 13th if you want to make this a little bit more difficult.
No, I don't want to do that.
We can say Canyon Catchings if you want.
Canyon Catch. I thought you were gonna say Coleman. Coleman Hawkins.
Oh God, no! I don't think any Indiana fans want that.
Now it's gonna be Liam, right, when he hits the transfer portal again.
Yeah,
Liam McNasty. And say, hey Woody, what's good? Remember your boy? Hey. Man, I'm between Ja'Kai and Tucker. They're gonna have to battle out Mortal Kombat style. So we got 8. So my top 8 is gonna be Rice, Carlisle, Mbako, Renew, Ballo, Trey, Goody, and Gabe. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take out Gabe. I'm gonna put Newton. I'm gonna put Newton and Tucker. Because I think that the only way that Tucker is going to be able to play on this team is if he can play at the top 2 spots. Possibly as like a 2.
Yeah.
That's what I feel most comfortable with. Because if Rice comes out, maybe move Carlisle to the 1. And if they want to go Hutch Shafino-esque and have Tucker be the backup point, maybe. But I just think that you got to have, like, nobody on here is under like 180, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's a bigger dude, good size. And I think Gabe is going to watch a little bit more this year. I don't know if he's going to play as much as last year. Which,
there's no way. The reason why I think this, and I think Tucker's going to get, we'll probably, more as the year goes on, a little bit of extended minutes just because of his length and defensively. He can impact the game a lot more on that end of the floor than obviously you have a question mark with Ja'Kai and how well he's going to be able to just come back and play significant minutes, whether that's 10 minutes a game, 5 minutes a game, whatever the case may be. But I just think that's the reason why Tucker's going to sneak his way into the lineup. He's too good defensively, just as a solo defender, to not be on the floor. Once he actually gets through these summer months of learning the system, getting more weight on him, I don't foresee him not playing significant minutes when it comes to that. But it's tough, right? Because you look at a guy with like Gabe Cupps who started the majority of the season. I don't know how Mike Woodson loves him. Indiana fans love him, but he's not a great shooter. He's not a scorer.
Which is strange. Why can't you shoot? Come on.
Yeah,
Come
and
on.
so I think you get some spot minutes with him, and who knows with injuries or anything like that. But yeah, that's why I was curious because I don't think Anthony Lee will probably make cuts it there, and I think you're fighting out for some extended minutes. But I think you're going to see a lot of guys go maybe 2-3 minutes in the first half, and they don't see a look of action in the second half, and the front court, the Langdon Hatton and Mackenzie Mbako. I think that's the biggest question that I have is just how that front court rotation does end up. Probably once you get into Big Ten play, because we saw Peyton Sparks play, not comparing Peyton Sparks with Langdon Hatton at all, because vastly different players. But you saw Peyton Sparks play a lot more in the non-conference. Once you got into Big Ten play, outside of the couple games that Khalil Ware was down with injury, didn't play at all unless he was in there for Zach Edey. So it's an extremely deep team in the backcourt. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, I was just curious for your thoughts on that one.
I think they're going to have so many good options at the 2 and 3. I think that's going to bump Mbako down to play more 4.
I hope. I think everyone hopes.
Yeah.
You know what, man? I'm thinking about it.
He's going to put Leo back in it.
How many minutes did Renew play last year?
It was like probably 26-ish, 27. 28.7.
28.7. Do you see him playing 29 minutes on this team?
Yeah.
Unless it's at the 5. Unless some of those minutes comes at the 5. Like 15 at the 5.
Yeah.
Maybe,
I
I was gonna say that's kind of what I see. I mean, you look at the roster. I mean, I think it's going to be Renew and Ball will probably start the game and potentially finish it together, but they'll probably play a little like switch off at the 5, and then it opens it up to have Goody and Mbako play more 4. I think.
Yeah, because they just have so many options, man. Because Ball played 25 or 26 last year for Arizona. What did Khalil play?
Khalil was up towards, especially in Big Ten play, he was up
32.
towards probably
Jeez.
35, 36. Yeah, I mean, he went on like a 10, 12 game span of 35 plus.
He had the one game at Penn State. It was because of the fouls, but outside of that,
yeah, I mean that's I think that's a total outlier just due to the fact that that was the only offense and the only defense that Indiana actually had was through Khalil Ware. As you said, I don't think we're going to see obviously anywhere near that impact. I think all 4 of us can agree with Omar Ballo. So I hope Mackenzie plays a 4 a lot more.
Good thing I'm not having to figure this out. But I could definitely see Renew playing a little bit less this year, to make way for more of the wing play. If Renew is shooting over 36 or 37% from 3, I don't know what Woody's going to do with this roster. It's almost like Woody probably hopes that Renew takes a step back, so he can like justify some of these moves. But if Renew comes in and he shoot the ball well, they're gonna have Ballo might. I don't know.
Well, so where Malik ended up at about 1.5 threes a game attempted last year. Shot about 34%. Hit 15 threes, I think it was. Well, I mean,
34% is not bad.
Yeah, for his position.
But granted. Now, I think it was four of those 15. What game was that? It was like North Alabama or Kennesaw State. No, I think it was North Alabama because I'm pretty sure they blew him out in that one. Kennesaw State was close. He hit 4 in that one, and outside of that, I don't think he made a 3 in the last like 2 months of the season. So
why are you being a hater?
Because I don't what big Khalil Ware had the ability because he just had he was just much more of an athletic, fluid, big guy. So that was different because he could step out and do that. Malik, I don't. Trace didn't do it. Malik, I just don't see. He's much more Trace oriented in terms of overall skill set. I think if anything, the biggest thing that you can do with Malik is really, and it's not easy to do. I get that, so I'm going to make it sound a lot easier than it is. But turn him into that passing big that Trace was. Not to that extent, right? But he has some good ability to pass the ball. The biggest thing with him is he tends to get tunnel vision when he sees a double team come and he's on the post, and he just tries to kind of force his way through. But if you're able to have him kind of take a step back and see the floor a little bit better, which again is not something that you can easily do in 2 months, 3 months, but I don't see him 45 threes I don't see him having more than 45 threes next year.
Who now?
Malik.
Do you have his numbers of what he shot on the year? What he shot on the year total?
Yeah, 55.8 from the field, 33.3 from three.
15 for what?
15 for 45.
15 for 45. So outside of a literal 4-game stretch, he shot 21%.
Yeah.
So he was 8 for 12 for like 4 straight games.
Yeah, and he was 4 for 4. It was North Alabama, the 4 for 4 game where he had 4 threes.
But then he followed that up with 1 for 3 against Kennesaw, 2 for 3 versus Nebraska, Ohio State 1 for 2. He shot well from the line too. He missed 4 free throws, attempted 18. All right. So renew. See, that's why you got to look. You know what I'm saying? But Malik shot 34% from the 3-pointers. What do you mean he can't shoot?
Carmen's got all these hot takes, I swear.
Oh man. What do you mean? That's the voice I do. I'm literally serious. Like anyone who says something crazy, like that's exactly how I hear it in my head.
I'm gonna start reading your tweets that way.
Yeah.
when you quote retweet an Indiana fan, I'm gonna just read it exactly like that and picture you with the big ass hat.
Yeah, we're still waiting on Hoosier Illustrated one.
What is it? Let me see. This was for Purdue. Did it win like Heidi get picked to take more minutes at that Peru?
So, do a Rutgers fan.
Rutgers fan? What do you mean? What do you mean Ace Bailey's not going to win the Player of the Year? He's the best that's ever happened.
It's just all haters have the exact same voice.
All got the same voice. Every single
doesn't
one.
matter. It doesn't matter if they're from the Northeast. Doesn't matter if they're from farmland. It doesn't matter if they're.
Doesn't matter. It's all the same accent. It's all the same accent. It's loser accent. Here goes Ant again with his Caitlin Clark narrative agenda. Jeez, man. I can't wait for this year. We're almost there, man. We're almost there. We're almost there.
That's June. One way to look at it. It is June. We still got a
one more full month. I know it's basketball, but I know y'all are excited about football with Sig.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how y'all.
We got to get through. We got to get through the NBA Finals first for Drew.
Yeah,
Drew's a big Celtics fan.
What?
I'm from Boston.
Celtics? From Boston?
He's literally in Boston right now.
I'm literally in Boston right now.
Live from.
That's why we had to do this earlier today, so we could go watch the game later.
Yeah, I appreciate
it. So they play at what, 8 today?
8:30, but it's ESPN, so that means they'll probably start at like 9.
9. Yeah. They think they're like,
gotta love it.
You can just like not play the game. Like it's gonna be at 8:30. I swear. I swear. It's like 10 o'clock. You're looking at your watch. Players are like, what's going on? I remember like we used to have when we played, if a game was going like overtime, like I hate playing at like 9. I hated it because you're always subject to someone else, right? It was like tips at 9, right? If that game was running behind, I would look up and they would change the clock from like 17 minutes left to like 27. And then we'd have to like switch up what we're doing. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. Or they will like stop it. They won't let it run.
All right, Ant, before we let you go, I gotta ask like last thing. What I mean, we've been talking Indiana basketball, all the changes.
Who has a better left hand, you or Jaylen Brown?
Hey, you're sleeping on Jaylen Brown's left hand. I'm just saying.
The guy can't dribble left at all. It's
It's improved a lot. It's improved a lot.
Yeah, well, that shows you how bad it was.
To the left. Come on.
That shows you how bad it was because he still dribbles off his knee.
Come on.
Drew's like, who has a better left hand? Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna ask, I guess, what do you see the ceiling and floor of Indiana next season?
Someone asked me this a couple weeks ago, and I said, Final Four ceiling.
Wow.
And I don't think they can win a national championship, and I say that because I don't think they have a pro on the roster as of today. And I said that about Purdue last year, so don't shoot me. I said Purdue's a Final Four team. They're not going to win because they don't have a pro on the perimeter. What happened? They got blown out. Why? They didn't have a pro on the perimeter. If they had a pro, they probably beat UConn. Not going to lie. I know you don't want to hear that either, but the way that they were guarding them, no help defense, you can't do that if you have a pro on the offense. But Final Four, and I think they could finish somewhere around 500 as a floor. And I think if they finish around there, it's going to be due to I don't think it's going to be like injuries will do that, but I think injuries will also answer a lot of rotation problems. Like if someone goes down, oh, okay, cool. All right, that's figured out now, right? And that guy has nobody looking over his back. I think if they finish around 500, it's going to be because of gelling issues. I think it's going to be because guys just aren't buying in. Guys are upset. Guys just want to do them. Guys aren't buying into the bigger picture, and that's winning a Big Ten championship, competing for a national title, which I think this team can do. But I think everything is going to be the in-between stuff. They have the talent. They have the guys. I think the staff, people will be like, Woody sucks. But yes, I read that in that voice all the time where they're like, yeah, but the one problem is Woody's still coaching there, isn't he? But when it comes down to it, man, I think Woodson did an incredible job after botching last offseason. Being able to win 19 games with no backcourt. I cannot iterate. Winning 19 games with no backcourt was impressive in itself. And I was down on the team last year, but not this season. Not this season. I believe in this group. They have an opportunity, a really rare opportunity to really compete for a Final Four, like legit compete for it. And I think they can. It's just a matter of the guys coming together and like realizing how good they can be.
Right,
quick, just really quick. So if they get to a Final Four, obviously Miles Rice, Cannon Carlisle, some of these guys obviously have multiple years of eligibility still left. Does that mean that, whether it's one of those two, whether it's Malik, McKenzie, whatever the case, does that mean that one of those guys have to really have an exceptional year, or is that just all the pieces come together and it's not any one person really breaks out? It's just
a little bit of both.
Everyone. Okay.
A little bit of both. I think a couple of the transfers have to break out. Like what Illinois did, like having Damask come in to like do what he did, really lifted that whole team. They just ran into UConn in the Elite Eight. Like they could have been they could have been a Final Four team, I think, man. But they hit the best team in basketball. Outside of that 30-0 run, though, they did win. Outside that 30-0 run that they gave up, they did win the game. So if you just exclude that 15 minutes of the game, it was all right for them. But they do need that. They need some guys to really buy in. You need a surprise. I don't know who that can be.
Anthony Leal. Again,
people aren't talking a lot about Cannon Carlisle.
They're not. No.
Should be.
You're hearing a lot about Rice. You're hearing a lot about Ballo and all that. But Carlisle, he's got some stuff to him, man. Like he was a National Player of the Week for no reason, right? National, not freshman. This is everyone, right? Everyone. This is everyone's award. And someone was like, you know what? That freshman right there who just started playing 3 games ago, because he was out the first like 8 or 9 games, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think someone like Carlisle or Newton can really come in and really shock some people. And I think, Tucker taking on like a mini JHS role. I think this team's going to have some juice. They're going to be a good defensive team too. I think with how athletic they're going to be, with how mobile they're going to be. They're not going to look like last year when I'm doing breakdowns of like really basic defense in like the first game. I don't expect that this season. I expect good things, man. I am really excited about this year. Really, really excited about it.
All right, Ant, thank you for coming on doing this. I mean, I don't know about you, Kyle or Alec, and this is one of the at least funniest, most fun podcasts I think we've done all year, and it was definitely, I think it'll be a good one when we get
all thanks to the Indiana Twitter haters.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Haters in general.
You keep us going. We'll have to do this again, Ant, before the season gets started.
Yeah, please, or before then, whatever. If
maybe
y'all,
we'll talk some Indiana football, maybe. We can talk
hey, let's go. Y'all got 5 stars coming on campus, man.
Yeah,
y'all about to be lit. Y'all about to be new bloods.
New bloods. I like
new bloods. I like that.
I like
the CFP's bigger now. You guys' chance are like multiplied by 3. You guys are good. 12 teams, bro. 12. Y'all could be one of the 12. Y'all could have been one of the 12 3 years ago, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Low key.
Yeah.
Michael Penix.
Yeah. Don't get us started on that one.
No, who's still Clayton Penix? Come on.
Yeah.
As they should.
They should have been in Indy, not Ohio State, but they changed the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If the roles were switched, they would never do that.
Never. Nope.
Yeah.
They would never do that.
Yeah. All right. As always, for all things Indiana athletics, follow Indiana_FRN on Twitter, Facebook, and check out the HoosierIllustrated.com website. And make sure to subscribe on both YouTube and Spotify. Hoosier Illustrated has also partnered with Tom Brady's company Autograph to streamline our coverage so you can do what you do best. Follow IU Sports. Use the code IndianaFR to get started today. As always, thank you for tuning in to Talkin Bout the Hoosiers podcast. We'll be back.